All right. Hello and welcome to the We Make Movies Film Geeks podcast. The podcast is all about how to get your movie made, how to get it seen by other people, and how to get it awesome. I am your faithful host, Garrett Robinson. With me, as always, co-host Chad Kukihiko. Valentina can't make it today because she's at NAB or something like that. Ugh. How you doing, Chad?
Good. How are you?
Good. Long absence.
Yes, I think we're like doing these once a month now. I think that's
We should probably just make that an official thing so that people aren't like
waiting for us.
But then as soon as we do that, we're going to be available every single weekend.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All right, as per usual, or as always, if you are watching this live, feel free to comment on the YouTube channel. We will see your comments on the live feed, or you can tweet us at #WeMakeMovies and we will respond live. We will dive straight into our general news topics. And I will start off today. I'm all comics, all comic book movie and TV shows today, even when I talk about Star Wars, because there are Star Wars comics. So I'm just letting everybody know that up front. Chad's going to be talking about things that are actually important, and I will be talking about comic book movies. So the big thing for this week is that another X-Men movie is on the horizon. Pause for applause. Oh, there's no applause. Oh. So this one's called Dark Phoenix. So naturally, there's no way to actually tell what it's going to be about.
Naturally.
Match. No kidding, of course. They are going to of course going to be talking about the Jean Grey / Phoenix storyline. Now you might remember that storyline from X-Men 3, aka X-Men The Last Stand, aka definitely the worst X-Men film that's ever been made, and that is
Apocalypse.
And I haven't seen Apocalypse, but like I've heard they're right up there next to each other in terms of boy, they're just not good.
It's hard to gauge. They're both bad.
There's very few X-Men films that are truly good. There are good ones, but they're very few and far between. So Dark Phoenix is coming out in November of next year. Very little is known about it. Obviously, Sophie Turner will be returning to play Jean Grey, as she did in X-Men Apocalypse. So you saw Apocalypse?
I did.
Was she an okay Jean Grey?
She was fine. The problems were really in the writing.
Sure.
So nobody was able to do really good acting, no matter how good because the writing was so bad.
Right.
So it's hard to say. It's hard.
Bad character rather than a bad job by the actor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good. Well, that's promising. So even if even the film's director isn't actually known, except apparently they will not be using Bryan Singer. Thank God. Thank God. So the current rumor is that it's going to be Simon Kinberg directing. He is also listed as producer, and he's also listed as the writer. He has no director credits on IMDb, period, whatsoever. But he has been a writer or producer on most of the past X-Men films, which could be a really good thing if you're thinking of how he produced X-Men First Class, or a really bad thing if you're thinking of how he wrote X-Men The Last Stand. So, like, this is, in the end, it's just another Fox X-Men movie. It's not one of their ones where they decide to break formula like Deadpool or Logan. So this is, unless something massive has changed in their corporate culture, it's probably just going to be like all of the other Fox X-Men movies, and maybe a little bit more towards the bad side than the good, but it's happening.
I mean, Deadpool's so good. And
so
Logan
good.
Was fantastic. Did you see Logan?
I finally saw it. I tried to work this in and it got a little bit long, but I guess since we have a two-man show, it's okay. The best X-Men films are not like the thing that unites the best X-Men films is not when they do rated R, because that's what like the studio execs like want to, we'll just make everything rated R. But it's where like when they do the standard X-Men films, they feel like they want to do not a superhero comic book movie. They don't want everything to be too comic booky, but they feel like they have to make it a little bit comic booky. So they're trying to get like the best of both worlds, and they just fail. Whereas when they really go, okay, this is not a typical comic book movie, and they just own that, then they make Deadpool, then they make Logan. And, you know, like even you could say, I mean, I thought that like First Class was probably my favorite X-Men film. And It's a little bit more comic book movie-ish, but it's
so off canon though. That's what drove me bonkers.
Oh, well, there's that. I'm not, I can't.
It's a good movie. It's just so off canon. It's so, and that's for a big X-Men fan like me. It's like, I just can't. I can't.
I can't.
To me, my thing is that I think it's about simplicity. When they tell a simple story, they can do it well. They don't automatically do it well, but chances are when they have an epic, when they try to, and I just saw for the first and only time last night, Suicide Squad.
Oh God!
Oh my! Did you see it?
No, I have heard.
When it's free on HBO now, will watch all these movies. It's not as bad as Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman is epically awful. Suicide Squad is just like a bad, classic 80s action movie. You know what I mean? It's just a bad movie. And it's
although that's a different studio. That's Warner Brothers.
Well, my point is that when they're trying to, and plus it's DC versus, my point is that those movies, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, all the X-Men movies, they're these movies where they're trying to throw everything in the wall. Even in the Avengers storyline, some of my most unfavorite movies are the big epic ones.
Right.
The ones that just the simple story, Logan, Deadpool, these movies where they just tell a specific story. Those are the ones that I really like. Even the X-Men, the one that was kind of the futuristic one, Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
That is my favorite of the X-Men movies.
I like that one. I feel like that one gets shat on a lot, but I enjoyed it quite tremendously.
I like it. It's simple and it's kind of outside the normal timeline. So you can kind of, so but it's really simple and they keep it simple. And that's, that to me is what makes them good or not. Anyway, I should probably move on. Otherwise, we'll just talk about the whole show.
We'll see how it goes. Although good luck trying to turn the Dark Phoenix into a simple story.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, they could, but I don't think they will. Anyway, so Tribeca Film Festival is happening right now.
Yes.
NAB, by the way. But at Tribeca Film Festival, they screened this documentary about Clive Davis, and Apple Music picked it up immediately. It's a little more interesting. You've been hearing for a couple of years that Apple has been, getting a little, has been caught by Hollywood Reporter and Variety. Like their people have been in meetings with different people in Hollywood. We've been hearing about it for years, but only recently have they been getting kind of just like brazen about it. And it's this one guy in particular. He's heading off their content. His name is Eddie Q, CUE, and he is he's the thing is, this is what's interesting is as they're becoming more upfront about it, it's Apple Music, and it's all documentaries that they're getting. They're getting like music and tech-based documentaries. That's all that they're basically buying, maybe because they're cheap or whatever, which is a little bizarre because Apple has like more money than God. They could whatever. They could compete with anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Obviously, it would take time to develop any kind of technology that they don't currently already have. But so what it sounds like they're trying to do is they've been trying to create for a while now what they're calling sort of a skinny bundle of content, which is obviously I don't know. I don't even know who came up with that, just in quotes on the thing. Anyway, it's a skinny. So that on the various different Apple devices, you could get this like bundle that would either be already like just sort of included, or you could pay for it on the side. But they just apparently haven't been able to close enough deals to get enough content to do that yet. But again, they've got more money than God. They can do whatever they want. I'm just curious to see. This is the thing. This is the interesting thing is even though you're making these deals and you're hearing about it, they're not releasing numbers. You know what I mean? Like you still can't do. So just like anybody else, I don't know if they can figure out their own profitability because none of their competitors are releasing their numbers. So
yeah, they can't say how they're doing compared to Netflix or Amazon Studios.
No. I mean, there's ways you can hire, researchers. They're not cheap, but again, they've got more money than God. They can come up, they could estimate and investigate and find ways, but they're not going to release that information either. It's just, it is interesting, and I'm curious to see what's going on. I would obviously love for Apple to buy some of our stuff, but we don't have, at least not yet, any music documentaries. It seems like they need to open up their horizon a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. It sounds like the sort of thing, how whenever they put out a new phone or a new app, they always release they always release it along with something. Like when they finally got the Beatles, and they announced it when they launched. They got the Beatles on iTunes, and they announced it when they launched the next iPhone and the next version of iTunes and iOS and all that sort of stuff. So it's like I guess it could be something like that, like the next version of Apple TV, and it just like comes with all this. But who the hell knows?
I hope it's more than that. I mean, I feel like they could provide they could, I don't know. You have a lot out there. You know what I mean? Like Kendall has Hulu Pro, and I have Netflix and HBO now. And through Hulu Pro, she's got Showtime. So we've got these individual things.
Right.
And I also have Amazon Prime. So we have all these different things. But, as a content creator, I would love for there to be more out there, because then there's more people I can actually sell my stuff to,
Yeah, totally. All right. So I'll jump onto my next segment. So there have been a couple of incredibly important trailers in my life recently. So the first one is the Thor Ragnarok trailer. Yes. If anybody watching has not seen it yet, you simply must. It's right up there with like the best trailers in ever. Like he's a friend
from work, or I know him from work. I can't remember which line it is.
He's a friend from work. Yeah, he's a friend from work. And I just keep watching it. And anytime I meet somebody in person, which is a very rare occasion, but if I talk to them and I find out they haven't seen it yet, I immediately pull it up on my phone. I'm like, you need to see it. And then I do the thing where I like sort of creepily like watch their face while they're watching it. And I'm like, I'm waiting. So
Waititi, have you seen any of his other films?
No, I have not.
They're great. I've seen Boy, and that's fantastic. I have yet to see, but I've seen the trailer, I swear, like 17 times for Hunt for the Wilder People, and it's really, really funny trailer.
All right, I will definitely check it out. So what like heartens me about it is obviously it's a trailer. Okay, I thought that up there among my favorite trailers of all time is like X-Men Origins Wolverine. That trailer was amazing. I was more hyped about that movie than most other movies that I've seen. And then of course it was X-Men Origins Wolverine. So we have to recognize that a really good trailer does not necessarily make a really good movie. But you got Hulk, you got Kate Blanchett in this trailer. Anyway,
yeah, right.
Ooh, I'm gonna totally geek out. But if
what
it is,
character is that, by the way?
She should be Death. I think she's Death. I think she's actually Death, which would tie in perfectly to the next Avengers, because Thanos' whole thing is he is in love with Death and he wants to destroy the universe as a gift to her. So like, I mean, spoilers, maybe. We don't know for sure if they're doing that in the movie, but that's from comics. So if it does turn out to be really good, though, that's good news to me, because while I do like them, but I think that the Thor movies are the weakest of the currently running Marvel series, not including Edward Norton's Hulk, because that's obviously like, that's not really even part of the universe anymore. But which is super weird, because they have Loki and he's the only really good Marvel villain. All the rest of them are just so blah, but the movies just are a little bit on the weaker side. But this trailer gives me a lot of hope for this one. So the second very important trailer, which I'm a little less hype about, is the trailer for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, plural. You know about the plural Jedi thing?
Yeah.
All right. So
wait. But have they said that it's plural? I mean, I know that it's both. The word Jedi is both singular. They said?
The way that they deciphered it was in every single language that it's been translated into, when there's plural and singular forms of Jedi, the plural has been used in every single one. So they're like, okay, so somebody in marketing must have told them, like they probably handed them the title and they were like, okay, but translate plural or singular form of Jedi. And they said plural. Apparently that's the best guesswork that we have.
Okay. That makes no sense, but I'm sure that's
well, like in like, I don't know if it's, but in Russian, if Russian like has like, you can't say, if Jedi is not the plural of Jedi in Russian, they said Jedis, the Russian version of Jedis.
Languages. Now I get it.
Right.
Yes.
When it's been translated. So, so that's, I mean, and it's in multiple languages. It's that way. And there's no languages where it's singular. So that's a pretty good, hopefully.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I was really glad to see the trailer. It's very good. It's got some cool stuff. I was a little underwhelmed. It didn't have an iconic moment that made me like lose my shit, like the Thor trailer or like the trailer for episode 7 did. Do you remember in the episode 7 trailer when the Millennium Falcon comes up and flips upside down and then flies and like everybody lost their
but
minds.
Also that lightsaber with the two coming out the side, that was
totally.
Yeah.
So this didn't have that moment. It had some cool moments, but it just didn't have that. And that's fine. That doesn't mean and the thing that I realize is that I think society has reached this weird point where we released like YouTube reaction videos and hot take articles just based off of trailers instead of like the actual film that they're meant to advertise. And I have fallen in that habit internally. I will admit that. And I realize it's completely ridiculous. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'm stoked to see them both. Please let them both be good. Please. That's all I want. That's all I want in the world.
So this is a funny thing. There's dog TV. It actually exists. And it's not even that inexpensive. It is, though it just got a little bit less expensive. It's a Discovery backed network, and it used to cost $9.99 a month. You could also get it for $24.99 for 3 months or $84.99 for a whole year. But Comcast just acquired it, and they're launching a video on demand version of it for just $4.99 a month. And to be clear, this is not TV for dog lovers. This is TV for dogs, specifically for stay-at-home dogs. Seriously. So they apparently play on this network, and here are scare quotes for the people who can't see me. Scientifically developed and tested, end of scare quotes, content for dogs that are stuck at home all day. And it's supposed to relax and occasionally stimulate them. So there you have it. If you have a dog that stays home and he needs a bit more entertainment, $4.99 a month via Comcast. Get your dog TV subscription right away.
Cool. I guess I don't know how to react to this, but
it seems like such an LA thing. You know?
Such an LA thing.
Right?
Oh my God. Yeah. I kind of want to get it just as a joke to check it out and see like I feel like this is going to be a YouTube topic. I feel like lots of YouTubers are going to get dog TV and then film their dogs watching it.
I want my dogs to watch it. I want to get it for like a month and just see what happens. Just, if they're stuck at the house all day.
I feel like there would be 10 million Vines about it if Vine still existed. Too soon?
So sad.
Oh, Vine. By the way, quick note for anybody who really misses Vine, go on Tumblr. There are a million Vine compilation videos on Tumblr because Vine said you can download all of our videos freely. They just said, take anything you want, keep versions of it, if whatever. All over Tumblr. If you go searching for Vine compilations, you can spend days watching them. Really, really good.
Nobody's making any new ones. Are people making where did all those people go? Where did all those Viners go?
A lot of them do make. A lot of them did go to Instagram. Instagram is the one that now has repeating video, and they have a 15-second time limit. But a lot of people will just make 6 seconds anyway because it'll still loop. And so there you go. Some people did go to Tumblr. Thomas Sanders, one really, really big Viner. He has a YouTube channel now. He's doing very well on it. He's making all these videos with like all these incredibly famous, popular cartoon voice actors, kid show actors from like the 80s. You can find him doing shows with doing YouTube videos with like the actors who played Tigger and Winnie the Pooh. Oh, wow. and like some of the original Power Rangers, all the voice actors from Steven Universe, Johnny Bravo. Anyway, so they're finding their way in the world. Most of them. Nice. I hope.
Is it animated stuff that he does?
Nope. He just has the actors and they'll do a thing and then occasionally they'll like go into their voices and everybody freaks out. It's very cute. All right. So we can get into the main topics now. So when last we talked, which was a while ago, Iron Fist was about to come out. It was coming out later in the week of the last episode that we did. Now it's out. It's been out. And it is the first thing Marvel has released in a long time that just didn't seem to do very well at all. Obviously, like we just talked about, we have no idea how it's done in terms of numbers, since Netflix almost never releases that information. But it's got 17% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. And you know how I feel like the reception for Luke Cage wasn't as good as maybe Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and I know that you didn't like Luke Cage so much.
I hated it.
Right. That's got a 98% from critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
Insane to me. But the thing about TV critics on Rotten Tomatoes. TV critics on Rotten Tomatoes are the worst. Yeah. They are so bad. Like they give really bad shows 100%. So you can't put you look at the public for Iron Fist is nowhere near as bad.
Nowhere near as bad. It's still not as good as the other ones though. And it's just been trashed on YouTube and this, that, and the other thing. It is what it is. So they've done their first Netflix show that's been trashed by critics mostly. What does this mean for them going forward? And my default reaction when I first thought about that was, well, it probably means nothing. I mean, it's obvious this isn't too bad for them. It's not going to affect how successful they are, how profitable they are. It's not going to stop them from putting out The Defenders or probably another season of Iron Fist, et cetera, et cetera. But I've actually changed my opinion slightly. I think that overall, Iron Fist's poor reception is not neutral for Marvel. It's probably a good thing in the long run, because for a while now, Marvel's had this feeling of like being too big to fail. They just haven't done anything that was considered really any kind of failure, much less like a disastrous one. And I feel like if they kept going along that way, when they eventually did do something really bad, it was going to be that much bigger of a deal. It's like when J.K. Rowling was nearing the end of Harry Potter. Yes, everyone loved Harry Potter, but it was reaching this mass where some people didn't, and they really wanted to attack her, but they couldn't because she was just too popular. Like you can't, when the whole world is seized by Pottermania, you can't go in and say, I hate Harry Potter, and be taken seriously by anyone. So the very first book she published after Harry Potter was roasted by critics. I've read it. It's not that bad of a book, but she didn't get a fair shake because there were so many people waiting in the wings to dogpile her because exactly. So that's actually kind of how I'm viewing Iron Fist. It's a pressure valve. It lets us all go, okay, so Marvel can screw up. So on one hand, we don't feel like we have to praise everything they ever do for fear of fanboys kicking our ass. And we can just view things in a more like honestly critical light. We can say, I didn't like this new Marvel thing so much. It's not as bad as Iron Fist, but it just didn't get me. It's not as bad as Iron Fist. It's not as good as Civil War or whatever. And I really do think that it is as healthy to have like a low standard to avoid as it is to have a high standard to reach for. And I mean, that's obviously just my opinion. I am watching the show. I find it difficult to get through. I really don't like it. I'm not done. And it's hard to make like, whereas on,
you have the same feeling with Luke Cage?
No, I liked Luke Cage. We've actually talked about, I think we talked about this on the last episode.
The record, points on Rotten Tomatoes, 1 point difference. 79. I'm talking about audience score.
Right.
79% for Iron Fist, 80% for Luke Cage.
Right. And on my viewpoint on Luke Cage is basically, I see exactly what you're saying. I do appreciate it as what they set out to try to do was to make an evolved television version of blaxploitation films. And that's what they did. And so looking at it in that light, I'm like, okay, I agree that it's not consistent with the rest of their Netflix TV shows, but like I view it in that light and I'm like, okay, well, if you're doing that, then you did a good job. And I'm such a fanboy for Luke Cage. I love him so much. And he really was Luke Cage. Slightly weak story notwithstanding.
Yeah, a little bit more than slightly weak.
Okay.
I mean, the thing about it is that now I never really followed Luke Cage, even though I was a huge Elektra fan and a huge Daredevil fan. I never followed Luke Cage at all. And I know that they're sort of tied. So, but the thing of it is that, and I'll be honest, let's be clear. If Luke Cage didn't suck as bad as it did, as far as I'm concerned, I would have hated Iron Fist a lot more. You know what I mean? I don't want to pretend that that's because I couldn't even finish it. And I've tried like 4 times to finish it. I tried so many times and it's so bad. Iron Fist, I actually didn't think was half as bad as I was expecting, primarily because I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score and I was like, oh man, this is going to have to be worse than Luke Cage. And as far as I was concerned, it's not. It's nowhere
Right.
near as bad as Luke Cage. It has its issues. I mean, like the dude is not very good at martial arts. The lead actor. And when you put him up against someone who kind of is, you know, when the other guy was like training him, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
How uncoordinated the actor actually is.
So and that's the thing is like I feel well, not so much with Daredevil, but with Daredevil, you can get a guy and put him in the suit. There's the mask and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And with Luke Cage, he's not doing martial arts. He's just picking people up and putting them through a wall. Yeah, but this guy's supposed to be the Iron Fist.
Yeah. I have a feeling they're like putting less and less and less money into the Marvel. That's just maybe what the sense, you know.
Maybe. Could be.
Anyway. So I guess we'll move on to my very depressing main topic. I stumbled onto this interview with a Russian journalist who worked for one of the last independent television stations in Russia before Putin basically took over all the media in Russia. They closed a couple years ago, and he left Russia shortly thereafter. And I know this is not necessarily a filmmaking topic per se, but I feel like many other things that we've talked about in the past, that it is important to discuss because it is media. And to be honest, news, the news section of media has become exponentially more important since the election.
Right.
Also, since some quote unquote news sources out there nowadays are pushing complete and utter fiction, now and then, not all the time, it might actually, I think, maybe take some professional storytellers to help people tell the difference.
Right.
The White House Correspondents' Dinner is next Saturday, and Trump has already said that he was not going to go, but he also recently announced he's going to be throwing a rally that same night. So obviously, plenty of the actual correspondents are not going to be able to go. They're going to have to go to his rally. So it's like, what a dick move. But this is the interesting thing. Presidents have been going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner all the way back, probably past Reagan. But the last time a president can go was because Reagan was shot from an assassination attempt. So he couldn't go. He was like in the hospital. Trump pulling a dick move instead, having a rally, blah, blah, blah. I just think that even though, you know, administrations have been using the press to kind of push their own agenda, this never before have we seen an administration that just outright attacks the media, and that's troubling for so many different reasons. Now, the specific topic in this entire field that is the most frightening to me is the way that fake news, internet trolls, and paid hackers have been altering the way that we actually see the world. I mean, it's insane. I don't know if you saw this, but back in the Senate, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago, maybe it was 2.5, 3 weeks ago, back when the Senate had their investigations, their open investigations. One of the guys that they brought in, one of these intelligence agency guys, he said that they've had 1,000 at Russia leading up to the they had 1,000 hackers. They were each impersonating probably hundreds of different people.
Right.
They were going on to, they weren't even, you couldn't even, it's, to call them hackers is also not even entirely accurate, except that they have to create all these fake accounts on their one computer, which is fairly difficult to do. So they would create all these fake accounts and then just be like bad mouthing Hillary, blah, blah, blah. So they make, when you do that, 1,000 hackers doing that, pretending they're each one of them hundreds of different, you've got basically hundreds of thousands of fake accounts out there, which can sway, you know, something that you're only hearing here or there, you suddenly are hearing it from a variety of different sources.
Right.
It starts to get, unless you realize that some of these people could be, and this is a new concept. Prior to the election, no one even thought about, no one was saying this, but now it's a new, and so so the far right candidate in France, they just had their elections today, and although the numbers are not out entirely, it looks like Marine Le Pen will be going to the second top. It's always the top two. So Marine Le Pen is moving on to the next round of votes to become president. And if she were to win, that's probably the end of the European Union. That's probably the end of the EU, because Britain's now out. And if France is out, who else is going to stay? So that might fall apart. I know, again, this is not a very uplifting main topic, but this is extremely important for us to pay attention. We need to question everything now that we hear and read, especially if it's coming from some anonymous person on, it's interesting. I will occasionally pay attention to, not CNET, but PBS. PBS will publish a bunch of stuff. They live stream a bunch of stuff on their YouTube channel. And you're constantly seeing all of these people talking about things in the comments. And then I'll be like, well, that's a really weird random comment. And I'll look, and it's a person without a single video. They haven't even bothered to like a video. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably somebody in Ukraine. You know what I mean? In fact, the one guy from the Ukraine might be managing all of these different, like, for all I know, you know what I mean? And that's just one of still probably 1,000 different people. So this is something we need to be cognizant of this, and we need to make sure that we are not ourselves swayed, and that we need to educate the other people in our lives, the other Americans in our lives, that this is happening. This is a thing. And this was another thing that came from the investigation, from the hearing at the Senate, is that they didn't stop doing this after the election. They're still doing it.
Right.
So potentially those 1,000 hackers, hundreds of thousands of accounts altogether, are still actively out there. Of course, PBS would be one of these places. You'd probably take like 2 or 3 of the 1,000 to just sit on that YouTube channel, you know what I mean, and make sure. So this is, anyway, I know this is kind of a rambling topic, but I think the main point of it here is that what we know, what we think we know, is so much more important than we realize, and that each and every one of us is so susceptible to this, and we need to make sure that we are paying attention to actual facts, and that we trust all of our sources of any information at all, and know that we need to, we cannot let ourselves get swayed by these pieces of excrement that are out there trying to change the way we see the world.
Yes. Yay. All right. No, obviously I joke about how it's depressing and stuff, and it is, but it is important, and it is like, it's just boy, it's not a great time right now at all. I hope that we're all okay, and I hope that everybody out there comes through this okay. And yeah, stay smart, stay safe, and stay active, everyone. All right, we will move towards the end of the show now, happily and with joyous bounces in our steps. We end, as always, with community news. But first, we'd like to ask, whether you're watching us live or listening on iTunes afterwards, please do go and give the show a rating on iTunes. It really helps more people discover the show, helps grow the community, all that sort of stuff. This Wednesday is the Writers Workshop We Make Movies live event. Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. at the Sacred Fools Theater Complex in Hollywood. Go! Attend, see scripts be read by excellent actors, which were also written by excellent writers as part of the group. And finally, We Make Movies is the only filmmaking community in the world, so far as we know, that is entirely supported by its community, and that happens primarily through Patreon.com. Patreon is a voluntary subscription service where you can support artists who do cool things that you like voluntarily, and our Patreon helps us fund our events. It goes into part of it goes into a rolling production fund that we actually use to produce films made by the community. If you don't want to do the subscription thing on Patreon, you can always donate, give a one-time donation through PayPal at wemakemovies.org/donate. And we end with things to know. My thing to know. I know you're all in the prime headspace to hear something like this right now, but I relaunched my book Shadeborn a couple of weeks ago. Yay! It's on Amazon. You can find it right there. Shadeborn.
Wait, you relaunched it?
Yes. Oh, have I not told you about this whole big thing that I'm doing with? I've been having to fix all the editing on all of my books.
Oh, I think maybe you did. I don't.
It's a long story. If you already own Shadeborn, you can decide for yourself whether you want to get a version that's not riddled with errors that were introduced by a former editor or not. Oh, no. And if you've never bought Shadeborn before, there you go. But it's book 4 in the series, so just keep that in mind.
Excellent.
Yes.
So I have a couple things to know. We Make Movies is going to be partnering with the San Francisco film collective Scary Cow on May 18th for an event where we're going to be discussing Off the Grid and the workflow that allowed us to make it happen in the amount of time with the amount of money, which is actually pretty substantial. There's a really there's some really, really interesting, innovative workflow things that I can't take credit for it because that was all Sam and LumaForge that they'll be discussing. It's incredible how much time and money can be saved, at least in sort of the post-production process, if you know this process, but you have to actually do it ahead of time. It's not the kind of thing that you can do after. You have to plan for it ahead of time. So if you're in the Bay Area, definitely come down. The Eventbrite page is not up yet. Tickets are $10, but we're going to have discount codes. So if you're in the San Francisco area and you want to come check it out, do so. Also, this Wednesday,
when it does go up on Eventbrite, you can find the event by searching "We Make Scary Cows."
That would be, yes, you're probably right. Or just checking out in the newsletter. It'll be in the newsletter. We Make Movies, by the way, we're launching a brand new version of the site this week. So it's going to be a much simpler site. None of the content is going to go away. You'll be able to find all of that at blog.wemakemovies.org, and then I'll also be able to access that from the main site. But it's going to be a much more pared down version of the site. We've just shifted gears and doing less of a focus on content. We're not writing so much content. We're not trying to be sort of the movie making Huffington Post like I feel like we were trying to do a few years ago when we launched that version. And instead of just, much more focused on what do you want to do because you're part of the community kind of thing. And so that's going live this Wednesday.
Cool.
That's all I got for you.
Excelente. All right. That is the end of the show. As usual, we don't have the intro, outro music, but we will see you next week. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. We're going to say next week until we eventually switch to a monthly schedule, at which point we'll switch back to a weekly schedule. But we hope we'll see you then. I am Garrett Robinson. You can find me at garrettbrobinson.com. Chad can be found at superfreako.com, and you can find We Make Movies itself at wemakemovies.org. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.